Hey, Kennesaw Happenings. We want to welcome you to Kennesaw Happenings. We're here at Overture, 55 and older. We're located right next to Academy Sports, right behind QT and Popeyes. So it's a community for 55 and older, but in the house, we have special guests, I think from Smyrna or where Kennesaw.
Right down the road.
Right down the road.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Here, I thought you traveled all this distance.
Nope.
Well, Stephanie, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
All right. So Stephanie Diamond with Diamond Chick Consulting. I own a health insurance agency, essentially. I've been a health insurance broker for about 6 years now. I am local here in the Kennesaw area. I've got a storefront right behind First Watch in Giles and Cherokee. Mm-hmm. So it's been really nice to be able to have people come to the office, walk into the office, and have more of that traditional feel. So in this day and age, when we're doing this kind of business, it's nice to talk to people that are in person and you know who they are. So that's kind of what I do. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, well, we want to get to know Stephanie. So what would you say, like, how many years have you been doing it?
6 years.
6 years.
Yep.
So what was that first year like? I guess we would call it the awkward stage.
Oh, awkward doesn't even begin to describe it. It was, oh man, full of all kinds of trials and tribulations. I don't know what the language is on this, but there was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, literally. Mm-hmm. And it made me realize that it wasn't insurance that I had a problem with in the industry. It was the culture of the office that I was in. So I changed offices and became a broker so that I could not have to, stick with one plan and do just one thing. I was able to broaden my horizons and kind of make it my own business.
Right.
And turn it into more of an advisory role versus, hey, you need health insurance, I'll sell it to you. I mean, it has morphed into something that I wanted it to be. And I actually was laughed at back in the day that that's not how insurance works. And I thought, well, we'll see how that works. So don't ever challenge me because I will step up to it.
What with that in mind, because our viewers are always like people that accept challenges. So what was your mindset when you're switching from a dedicated agent, I guess, is that the proper word?
Captive agent.
Captive agent to the broker, because it seems like it's a harder thing to do because you got to know all the different lines. What was that like?
So it took me a while to ease into that role, and I did not tell everyone that I offered everything. I basically, when situations came about, when I needed to find a different plan for someone, then I would do my research and find out what the best options were and became acquainted with those companies. So I've gradually built my portfolio based on, because every person I talk to, every household is totally different. I cannot have the same conversation twice, which is one of the things I kind of like because it's problem solving on a daily basis. But the broker aspect brings, it really brings that advisory piece that I like so much. It allows me to do that because I can put someone where they belong versus what's going to be, what's ever going to put money in my pocket. Essentially, I'm commission only.
Right.
I don't work for anybody else. This is my thing. So, but being able to put the right people in the right things and build that kind of clientele has been a game changer because it's allowed me to take a deep breath and be like, all right, we'll just take this and see what happens. And I mean, the majority of the time, I mean, it's not where all the money is, but it's not always about the money either. And unfortunately, I'm not money driven. I've been told that I should be, but
no, I would disagree with that because it seems like if a person's money driven, they're not driven to satisfy their client or customer.
They're going to fizzle out. They're going to be around for 2, maybe 3 years, and then they're just going to fade. So,
what would you say, like for our viewers, like did you have? At what point did you feel like you felt comfortable enough to be yourself? out in the marketplace? Because that awkward stage at the beginning is always like, man, am I like, are they going to ask me this question? I'm not going to know the answer. What would you say in your 5 years? How long did it take, and what was that like?
That is such a great question, because I have such an office voice, and people knew when I was on a personal call versus a business call, because it was a totally different tone. And people can sense that. So last year I turned 50 and went through all the proverbial chain, like, what am I doing with life? Blah, blah, blah. Actually, I was very happy with what was going on in life. So a lot of that was good, but I did have to face my fear of I'm not going to have all the answers, and I can't avoid a situation which is usually what I would do. If I don't know something, I would generally avoid it. And that never helps, because you're eventually going to have to learn it. So you eat the frog, and eating the frog has been what I do on a daily basis. So when last year I went through, truth be known, here's my part of the story. And it was about this time, I think it was about at the end of February, we had about $6.41 in our checking account. That was it. And you want to talk about fear? When you said fear earlier, I was like, I've had that fear. But then I woke up the next day and I got going, and I just thought, you know what, one way or another, I'm going to have to make this work. But I woke up to another day. And when you're fearing something, it's generally because you don't understand it. When you understand that it's important to understand, and you're willing to understand, and know that you're not going to be perfect, and sometimes good is good enough. It took the weight off of me not knowing the answer, which is weird that it comes down to that, but that's what those phone calls generally are. And like I said, not one phone call was the same. So to get caught up in, feeling really good about the process, feeling like we found a good solution, and then there would be this one little thing that would just, my panic mode would break the deal, so to speak. So it was about this time last year that I had to stop showing fear and stop really being fearful. You can be worried, but not to the point where you're paralyzed and you can't go further. And also knowing that everyone else is going through the same kind of crazy shenanigans, and they're not even thinking about you. They're just worried about their own stuff. And it's
exactly right.
When you're off so that come to Jesus moment was real pivotal. And this past year, now that the phones are ringing on coming in, I'm able to, if I don't know the answer, then sure, I don't know the answer. Let me get back with you. And but I'm not, I think when you're calling someone, asking them to do something, to purchase or, work with you, and then you don't know the answer, it's kind of like, well, why would I work with you if you don't know what you're doing? So anyway, I can go on about that, but it's showing up in places. And I've had so many people make comments that I just look different and I seem different. And, for those of you that are almost 50 and you're struggling, 50 is a good thing. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. I think we get to that wisdom stage, and we get to that comfortable in our own skin stage. And it's difficult at times because there's no like cookie cutter out there. Like, hey, you're at this point in your career, this is going to happen. Everybody's different, but everybody has to kind of go through that journey to get to the point. I think and I want to ask you this, what point did you start seeing the referrals come in that are always a result of the job that you do with a previous client?
Sure.
But it's like, ooh, I'm servicing, and you're always hoping that the back end will start coming in.
Sure.
What was that where did that start giving you that confidence that you started to see that happening in your business?
So that can be all traced back to BNI. And not just because I, learned how to ask for referrals, but I took on leadership roles.
Mm-hmm.
And I started small and had no idea what I was doing, but I was asked to take on a role. Sure. The more I started understanding it, and the more I started understanding that I was being taken seriously, because there was some credibility there. So,
Right.
And again, in this industry, you've got to be in there for at least 5 years before people can really start putting that trust in, because it's like locusts. Sometimes people kind of swarm in and they do their thing and then they leave.
Yep.
But the accountability piece is one of the core values of BNI that really, really struck a nerve, because I had to be present in front of everyone. I had to, I actually was a president of my chapter last year. So every week I was standing in front of half the chapter that I was writing, business with. So I think that the leadership and being, having the confidence to walk into a room, any room, and be able to handle whatever is being thrown at me allowed me to take that into my business. So I've become a huge advocate for taking on leadership roles in any organization, really, unless you're part of something you just want to be a worker bee. But if you want growth and you want vision or visibility and credibility, you've got to take on some of those responsibilities and be able to kind of prove yourself. And so one of the other things I do, aside from insurance, is I'm also a director with BNI. So I'm taking some of all this newfound wisdom, and I'm able to kind of help other businesses and leaders, kind of find their voice and maybe their reason for wanting to do leadership. So but the leadership part is really where that confidence piece was built. And
it doesn't come unless you practice it.
There's conflict everywhere you go. There, no matter what situation, and learning how to deal with conflict and not run away from it or avoid it that's going to also be that that piece that takes you to that next level, because you're not afraid to have the conversations, the hard conversations.
And I think I love that you're saying that to our viewers, because I was just listening to a podcast yesterday, and the gentleman was talking about when he was getting ready to re-enlist in the Army, and all his friends were telling him, come on out, we're having fun. And he was listening to all his friends, but then he was talking to his dad, and the conversation was something like, if you quit now, that'll mean you'll say it's okay to quit later. So he said, I'm not a quitter. I'm gonna go a few more years, not just because my friends are telling me this is what they want. So what do you feel like there's outside, like when you decide to be a director, did you have the one voice on one shoulder saying, Stephanie, that's a lot of time, you don't want to be doing any of that, and then the other one's going, go for it? Did you have that kind of conversation?
I think the first one is a mute, because I never hear don't do it. As a matter of fact, I wish it would talk up every once in a while to kind of keep me on level.
Good.
I have learned to prioritize those opportunities when they come about, and really try to focus on, is that going to take me where I want to be, or am I going down a whole nother road now? Because I can squirrel with the best of them. And I'm forgetting what the question was.
Well, I mean, it's the voice that's encouraging you, and the voice or discouraging you, saying, you've never done that before. Why do you think you could be a director now? And then the voices that's telling you the opposite.
And see, so I think my voices have different words, and it's more of you've kind of beat this level, you've done this, you've started from the bottom of this level and worked your way up to the top, and you've kind of maxed out what you can do here. And so, taking a new, being uncomfortable again is so exciting. And I I don't know. It's maybe I'm a thrill seeker. We're Six Flags advocate or
Right.
members, and we go all the
Yeah.
time. It opens next weekend. So excited.
And there's
But
always a new ride to try, and you're the one that jumps on the new ride.
well, and yeah, and that crazy, sickening feeling you get when you go up the hill and you're like, what am I doing? And then you start the ride, and it's like, wow. But you'd never experience all that fun stuff if you didn't go through. You've got to get through the panic first. So I can go through all kinds of analogies, but I welcome new opportunities, but I'm also getting, I guess, maturing enough to know that I can't do everything, but I'm really taking advantage of the opportunities that I have. And then the right thing will come up when when it's time.
Right.
And that's generally the way things should be. When you push them, then it's not going to work. There's a natural progression if you're active.
Right.
You can't just sit around thinking, oh, I'm ready for the next level. It's, you're in the level, you're doing it, and you're at that door and you've got to get through. So, that's been very exciting. And I enjoy those challenges.
And, not everybody accepts it that way.
Well,
So let me ask you, let's go back before that in the health insurance industry. Was there some things that gave you confidence because it sounds like to me, you embrace the challenge, you embrace the change. And it's not always an accepted thing that everybody does that. Why do you think you're at that point where that you look forward to it? It sounds like you just love a challenge, and you realize that you're not going to be very good at when you jump into something new,
right?
But you're willing to give it a shot and go for it.
If you're qualified for it, if you're making that a qualified leap. I mean, I'm not going to, be a wrestler at this age or anything like that. Okay. Repeat the question, because I did have an answer, but
so your confidence to accept new challenges, where do you think that comes from? Because not everybody embraces that. I can tell you, I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast. So I want our viewers to kind of understand is, why do you accept it as a point of like saying, this is a challenge,
right,
versus avoiding it?
So that was a question that I asked myself last fall. I was like, I'm just really not enjoying this industry. I mean, and health insurance is just it's a crazy time right now. But first of all, I've put in so much time, but I've also, am I going to because wherever I go, I'm going to put 110%.
Right.
So am I going to do that for someone else? Or am I just going to buckle down and make this happen and make it something that I do enjoy doing? If I'm not wanting to work for myself, that's a bad sign. So how about create a scenario or a culture that you want to be in and be part of? And I've diversified my interest in where I'm doing things enough where I don't have to always be thinking about insurance. I can be thinking about this over here. I volunteer with the organization in Kennesaw. So that gives me something else to think about. So I've created the culture that I wanted, that I would want to go work for. So there's going to be things about our jobs that we don't like, and there's going to be good days and bad days. So do I want to do that for someone else, or just go ahead and stick it out and do it for myself? And I know I can be successful. I've been successful before. So let's just do it. And that's where I am now. Can I share something that's super exciting that just happened?
Absolutely.
So I just brought on a broker who is going to be partnering with me. So she and I are going to be rocking it. And I am so excited. And we're building Diamond Chick Consulting, which is, we're building an agency versus brokers.
Right.
I'm over the moon with that. So that's
been
a big change.
Congratulations on that, because I want our viewers to really get into your mindset on this. It seems like you're attracting the type of people that would want to work with you. What do you think? I mean, outside of like the subtle subliminal things, what do you think attracted that person to want to come work with you, and you're now both, going on this venture? Was that something that it just woke up one day and you turned the switch on, or what was that like for our people?
I think she and I had a very shared vision. We've been in the industry about the same amount of time. She's significantly younger than me, which is different, which is great because she's got a different outlook and a different, right. She's got different strengths, and this particular person, I don't know. I guess, serendipity is the word. I don't, the way that we met was just, it was supposed to be. And I'm a huge believer of everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
so
I do too.
I think when you surround yourself with people in places that are positive and have your best interest in mind and are in a upward trajectory, then you're going to be along for that ride. So I have been meeting amazing people recently, and I was thinking, am I picking up too many cards? Am I having too many conversations? No, because my foundation was with good people, and it's just built, and I'm just meeting those quality people, and the quality people are coming into my life, which I'm loving it.
No, and I think that's what we all want to get to. It's how we get there and the mindset we have. Do you subscribe to podcasts? Do you read books? Do you listen to certain things? How have you prepared yourself mentally for, because I think if I'm just on the outside looking at this, that person was attracted to you because there's either the takers or the givers, and usually the takers repel people and the givers, attract people.
Right.
So 2 questions. Why do you serve? Because I think it's Mostly Mutts that you serve, because we had Kelly Long on and Sarah. So, and Sarah was 600 volunteers. I went, what? 600 people? That place isn't that big. But there's people that want to serve.
Right.
Why were you kind of motivated to go serve in the community?
Well, my background is in the nonprofit. And I've just had, like I said, I'm not money motivated. I'm service motivated. I love being of service to community, to those that need help. I'm not just reaching out to the needy, but I enjoy being, excuse me, a sense of support.
Right.
And of course, I love animals. One of the things I wanted to be growing up was a veterinarian, but that was not the right path for me. And obviously things changed, and my children were out of the house. I had a little bit more free time, if you will, or unstructured time, I guess would be a better way to say that. And I had a friend that was volunteering for this organization, and the things just kind of fell into place again. And it has given me and it was right after the last election where people were just in a bad mood.
Yep.
I don't care whose side you're on or whatever. It was just, It was bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And I was listening to a podcast that said, hey, if you want to make a difference, go out there and do something, get out there, be part of this, be part of that. And this was my little way of saying, okay, I'm going to jump into the community here. And it's funny because I was living in Marietta when I started over there, and we ended up moving about a mile and a half away from the shelter when we by accident, or not by accident, not by purpose, but everything happens for a reason. And it's allowed me to be part of a team without having to be in charge. And that's the other thing, is I'm in charge of so much that sometimes it's hard to turn that piece off.
Right.
And it's nice to just be a worker bee and just be there as a servant, so to speak. And it's almost 3 years now, and it's been just an amazing experience. And I've learned so much from that as well, as far as keeping your cool when Because the animals can sense fear. So you walk in, you got to be calm, cool, and collected and at peace, and you'll be fine. And it's been awesome. So yeah.
I've had two people on the podcast in the last couple of weeks, and we were talking about BNI. I said, have you ever heard of it? And they said, no, what is it? So I was like, when you're in something, you think everybody knows about it.
Right.
But I was like, somebody in sales has never heard of BNI. I'm going like, whoa. But what would you tell our viewers out there? What impact has it made on your, this stage of your career to not only be in BNI, but be a leader and a director?
So BNI to me it's a gym for your business. If you are a business owner and you need a team to be accountable to, you also need professional development. You also need, if you're a sole proprietor over here and you need a team, it provides that kind of environment, but it gives you core values and habits to practice that makes sense. It's not groundbreaking structure. It is structured, and it's a program that you subscribe to. And if you do these things will happen. So for those of us that need to have those little ticks that we hit every week, or we need to mark our activity, or even if you're an entrepreneur and you don't want to track your activity, then maybe you're not where you're supposed to be, because you should be excited about reports and tracking and seeing improvement, and also seeing where things need to be improved so that you can go to the next step. What is holding you back? What is it what can be done to fix whatever problem is? So BNI is, you said, for sales professionals, absolutely, but it's also more for the business owner, because if it's just for the sales, they may not, and I'm generalizing, but there's a relationship component to that when you're building relationships and real partnerships with these other industries, and kind of building your little team within that group. So it's important you take it seriously. And some people need to go to the gym. Some people, we all go to the gym for different reasons, and it's okay. Whatever your reason is, just be there and get the most out of that for that reason.
Right.
And the positive attitude you were asking earlier, what this person that I just hired, what drew her? I think that positive attitude, which is what I had to sort of adopt last year when I was in my fear mode, was a pivotal part of that change. Was a positive attitude isn't that everything is great and dandy and beautiful. It's that it's crap right now, but we're going to fix it. And it is what it is. I hate that phrase, but it's there's a problem. Let's figure something out, and let's work together as a team and collaborate. So I think that's what she liked, and what she was missing in her previous roles in different. She worked for a couple different agencies, but she just didn't have someone that was, I don't know, on her side. It was just all about the bottom line. So anyway, she needed the positive attitude.
And that giving off that kind of vibe, I guess you might say, does attract people. So I think we wake up every day with the choice: is this going to be a good day or not? And not that challenges don't hit us all the time, but if something knocks you down so much that it's a reflection of your attitude, I think we have a choice there, even though bad things happen to everybody. It's not like you're in a utopia situation where nothing's going to happen. It's just how we react to the things.
Exactly.
Almost like somebody told me once, you got to play the cards that are dealt you. So, it's not like, hey, I'll take 5 new cards. No, we're not playing that game. You got to start playing the ones you have. And sometimes they're not good cards.
Sometimes you got to bluff.
So it's like, what is that song?
You got to know when to hold them.
Yeah, there you go. Know when. Yeah, I love that song. So as we wind down, I want you to kind of look at our viewers because you have two things here that I want our viewers to grab hold of.
Okay.
And it's that you took I'm going to say the bull by the horns, and you just hit it straight on and you went for it. And now you're a director within BNI.
Mm-hmm.
You have that leadership role. Sounds like it's coming back full circle because people do watch you. I mean, it's just natural because you always hear like lead by example,
right.
Whether you're a parent or a leader in an organization, lead by example. So everybody's got eyes on you and they're going like, wonder if that's the kind of person I want to be. So I want you to kind of put yourself in the shoes of somebody that's kind of like on the edge of leadership. What would you say to them? What would be the encouraging word or that you can reflect back to them to maybe encourage them to take that leap of faith?
Well, I think I would ask first if that person knows what's keeping them from moving forward. Like, what is it? Is there anything in particular? And I think it's important to identify what that is. And then find and this is, I'll just use BNI as an example. The beauty of BNI is there are all kinds of different leadership roles. So you may not need to be president, but you may have, let's say your biggest fear is that you don't like making phone calls to strangers. Take a role of a visitor host. That gives you the first kind of a reason to call someone, but it gives you the practice to get over that. And a lot of times once we practice something, we get better at it. It's not, we believe it or not, improve. And so it's important to know. And part of BNI is the building relationships. Ask someone, a trusted partner in your chapter, like tell me what you think, like, what are you seeing? And, get that feedback. And that's one of the beauties of also having those relationships is getting that professional feedback. But you gotta figure out what it is that it is keeping you back. And a lot of times it's attitude. It really is, because everything else kind of falls into place.
I think you're right. I mean, it's I don't know what famous person said it, but they had something to say about the how we react to things and the attitude we give off, because it's easy to be negative in things, but it's harder to look at it from a standpoint of either an opportunity or a chance to grow or a chance to really show somebody that, even though you might get hit with something, you still accept it as something that's going to be positive.
Right.
Because the glass is either half full or half empty. Same thing, but it's how we look at it.
Well, you mentioned something about a positive attitude attracting people. A positive attitude is going to attract the right people. Because not everybody likes a positive attitude, by the way. So it can be very off-putting to certain people. So one of my favorite quotes is, "You can't please everyone. You're not a taco." That is just the way it is. And I think that's one of the things I like about having a partner now is that I'll have someone that if I don't work well with them, we've got someone else. Because you can't
and you can share tacos.
There you go. There you go.
So how would people, either if they're interested in BNI or interested in what you do, how can people get a hold of you? So
the best way to do that is to visit my website at www.diamondchickconsulting.com. And I've got my calendar right there on the front page. Depending on why you need to talk, there's a link for that conversation. I am getting ready to revamp some of my website. So there's going to be some changes coming, but right now that's the best way to get with me. And I look forward to hearing from you. I am local in Kennesaw. So stop by and say hi. Love a good drop in. And we'll put in the show notes, those links to it. Absolutely. Okay. So what would you like our viewers to take home with them today? What would be the one thing that you'd want them to take? Just get out there and do it. Just start. You're not going to get better at anything unless you start it. So just take that first step and go from there. That is awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate you sharing. Thank you. With our viewers, there was a lot of lessons in there. So
hopefully you weren't multitasking and you were listening. So share this with people that, one, if you've never heard of BNI, share it with people that would want to know a place where it's business networking international, and it's can develop you in a lot of different areas. So thank you.